Hey, John here, and this is the Canon Rebel T3i, and in this video I'm going to show you all about the white balance controls on this camera, including how to set custom white balance as well as doing white balance bracketing. So first off, you'll notice here I have a set of color calibration cards, which I picked this set up for I think $8 or $9, and you can see it has color calibrated white, black, and 18% gray. Now, the instruction manual says that if you use 18% gray, it should be more accurate than using just the white. But really, I don't think it makes that much of a difference. I think you can use either, and the results will be just fine. But before we go to the custom, first I'm going to show you the basics of the white balance. Now, right now, my camera's on, and I have it on program mode. Let me just tap the shutter to wake it up here. Now, if I push my Q button, which is my quick reference button, this symbol right here is your white balance. Yours is probably going to already be set to AWB, so it's going to look like this when you access it. So you go there. That stands for auto white balance. In most situations, I found that auto white balance does a perfectly fine job. However, if you're finding in your photographs that it's not doing a good job, you can set it to one of these presets. Now, for those of you who don't know, white balance refers to the color of the light source. If the camera knows the color of the light source, then it can render all of the other colors correctly in the photograph. Now, you can also see you have things like tungsten light, if it's cloudy in the shade, direct sunlight, fluorescent light, light from a flash, and then the custom mode. In these modes, you can see it also has what's called a color temperature. This is on the Kelvin scale of temperature, which is just like Fahrenheit or Celsius, except instead of being based on, say, water like Celsius is, it's based on absolute zero. And imagine an imaginary piece of black metal that's absolutely perfect, and if you were to heat it up to this temperature of 5200 Kelvin, it would emit light that is approximately the color of the sun. And that's where that color temperature comes from. It's an actual reading of the color of light that a piece of metal would emit at that temperature, because metal glows when you heat it up. So, next is the custom. Now, the custom white balance you can find in your menu, and you go to the second page down at custom white balance, and you say set. Now, I've already taken a picture of my gray card here. This picture is, you want to make sure that the gray card covers the center of the frame. And then once you do that, all you have to do is push the set button, and you can actually choose between several photographs. You can see a photo from my last video there. But you just choose a photograph with a gray card with a circle covered in the middle like that, and push the set button. Use white balance data from this image for custom white balance. Just say OK. And now it's telling me to set my white balance to the custom mode, because otherwise it's going to be on auto or one of those presets. So I can back out of my menu by pushing the menu button, go back to my quick menu by pushing the Q button. And right now it's on tungsten light, but let's go to custom. If I go to custom, I turn on my live view by pushing this button. You guys will be able to see probably that this camera I'm using and this camera are rendering the white balance a little differently. The fluorescent lights I'm using are slightly warmer at about 5000 Kelvin. So this color representation is fairly accurate. If you find that the custom white balance isn't to your liking, you can just go ahead and shoot in RAW and change the white balance after the fact, having your subject hold up these cards for the first photo in every sequence for different light sources. Now, moving on, if you want to have much more control over your white balance, you can go into the menu system, and on that second page, just below custom white balance, is white balance shift/bracketing. If I go to that, I get this screen that comes up, and I have this little dot in the middle and these colors, green, blue, magenta, and amber. And so this is more yellow, orange, and eventually red. And so that's a little confusing to call it amber and have it be red. But anyway, I can move this dot around, and I can really shift the white balance to anywhere on the color spectrum that I want it to be. So you can have exact control over the white balance, and you can do a lot of experimentation with this. Just screw around. You can always reset the settings later. It's just press info to clear all when you're done messing around. Now, if you're interested in taking multiple, say, JPEGs at once, doing bracketing is what that is, and saving multiple copies of the same photo with different white balance settings, this is the screen you do that in too. So not only can I move around the white balance, I can also, you can see here, if I turn the wheel, I can bracket, which is this wheel right here. Now if I turn it to the right, it will bracket either 1, 2, or 3 stops, which is indicated here, either in the blue or amber direction, or I can move this wheel the other direction and it will go towards green and magenta for bracketing. So it will save 3 photos with these different settings. Now not only that, I can take this bracketing and move it around. So I can have that custom white balance setting and then bracket from that exact spot. So let's say I do that. Let's say I do that. So it's a very strange custom white balance and the bracketing is turned on. And so when I do that, the camera is set to take 1 picture. Here on my screen it's indicating that my white balance has been modified and that I'm in white balance bracketing mode. So once I take a picture, which let's see here, it actually saves 3 photos from me taking 1 picture. So you can see that I have 3 different shades, slightly different shades of white here in these photographs, these 3 photographs. Let me push my info so it's a little bit more clear. Now if you want to go back, you just go back and change it and push the info button and that clears everything, resets everything, push set for OK. Now let's say you wanted to do both white balance bracketing and white balance bracketing, and you wanted to do auto exposure bracketing. Auto exposure bracketing is where you're telling the camera, I want you to take 3 photos, and you do that by pushing the Q button, going up to your light meter here. You're saying, I want you to take 3 photos with different exposures, a regular exposure, and then one underexposed and one overexposed. And you move your dial here, and you can see a new line appears, and these are your other 2 pictures, and you get to decide the difference in the brightness and darkness of the other 2 pictures. So I'm just do it all the way, and that's set. So you can see now I have my little indicator marks on my light meter that I'm bracketing here, and you can also see I'm bracketing for white balance. When this happens, you want to make sure whenever you're doing this bracketing that you change your shooting mode from a single, which you can get to that shortcut button here, from a single shooting to continuous shooting. Continuous shooting, as long as you hold down the shutter button, it will continue taking photos. In this case, because the bracketing's on, it will take 3 photos. However, because it's taking the 3 photos at different exposures, it will actually take 3 photos and then save 9 photos total. Each exposure will have the 3 different white balance settings. So this exposure will have 3 different white balance settings, this exposure 3 different ones, and this exposure 3 different ones. So now it's saving. If I go here, you can see it has the exposure compensation. That's my underexposed, and then that's my normal exposure, looks like. So it saved 9 photos for me. And that's how you do that. Now I hope this video has been very informative and helpful for you. If you have any questions or additional things you want to learn, please let me know in the comments below. Thanks.